Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. So this is my story of how I went from 33 minutes at parkrun to 17 minutes at parkrun. On the screen you can see a couple of examples of my first parkruns where I was doing around 33 minutes, and then in the last week I've recently run 17:40 and 17:39, and this is just going to be a little bit about my journey of how I got there. Obviously not everything I've done will work for everyone, and I do feel though that too many people at the back try and replicate exactly what the people at the front are doing, and there's normally a reason why people are further back. And I know I was far back because I was massively overweight, and eating the high carb foods that the people at the front were eating just exacerbated my weight gain. So you can probably guess from that where some of this is going. So this is my journey of 33 to 17 something at parkrun. So the obvious answer to this is of course consistent training. Doesn't matter what diet you're doing, what strategies you're using, without consistent running you're not likely to get very far. As I said, I was very overweight, so weight loss was another way, and it's weight loss that I've kept off. Don't get me wrong, my weight has fluctuated. When I started this process of weight loss, at least I was the best part of 19 stone. I got down to about 11 stone, went back up to 14 stone, down to 11 stone, up to 14 stone. I believe I've currently found something that's working for me, and I'm not getting above about 10 stone 10 and have been as low as just under 10 stone. So there's still been experimentation over there, because for me, unlike a lot of people, keeping the weight off is just not easy. It's not something my body wants to do, it just wants to put the weight on. So that's again a big difference between a lot of the people that are at, say, 30 odd minutes and a lot of the people that are under 20 minutes. A lot of the people under 20 minutes have never had to really worry about their weight. It's not to say all of them, but a lot of them have never had to worry about their weight in their lives. Whereas, I say from my experience and the experience of my wife and a few others I know, it's a constant factor. We can't, we don't run so we can go and eat cake. We run so that we don't put weight on, and it's just something to bear in mind. And some of the methods I've used seem unconventional, whether they are or not, I don't know. But certainly a lot of people I spoke to turned their nose up or were surprised at some of the methods I've used. So I'll touch on some of those, but there will undoubtedly be more in-depth videos at another stage on some of these more unconventional methods. So, as I say, back in 2013, this was the extent of the parkruns I tried. As you can see, the times range from apparently 29:29, though I'm pretty sure that one was an error with the timekeeping and I was actually slower than that. I don't think I actually ran under 30 minutes, but see, the average error is probably around 32 minutes. But slower ones, like Preston Park there at the end was 33 minutes. The one at Preston Park and the Dulwich was 33 minutes. And my times was around the 33-minute mark. And that was my starting point. And at that point, I wasn't doing anything special to lose weight. I was just doing your typical low calorie, low fat, let's try and ditch the weight and exercising too much. And needless to say, it didn't last very long. As you can see, my first parkrun there was in July, and the last parkrun that year was October, and I didn't get back to parkrun until 2015. So speaking of 2015, in 2015, my wife and I found low carb. So say we'd tried Weight Watchers, we'd tried low calorie, low fat, we'd tried exercising lots, and we hadn't found anything that worked. At the time we were both in science, we did some research, and at the Christmas party on the left there, we both decided we needed to do something about our weight. And the picture on the right is what I look like almost exactly a year later on a year of low carb. So people say that low carb can't be maintained. As I said back at the start, I've now been low carb for 9 years in one form or another, and my weight hasn't really got above 14 stone, and I started out on the left there at 19 stone. And whilst for me at 5'8", 5'9", 14 stone is still overweight, it's a damn sight better than 19 stone. And I've found that the lower carb I go, as we'll see in a bit, the lower my weight goes. And I found a few other strategies that help as well. So touch wood, I don't ever get back up to that 14 stone mark, but my body does easily put weight on. So yeah, a massive thing for me was finding low carb. I did do some 5k time trials myself over the course of 2015, but I didn't go to parkrun until later in the year. So I think I first went back to parkrunning around September and did 2150-ish. And you can see here I was obviously either running with my wife or doing some pacing on 2 of these events, but on 21st of November I ran 2007, which my watch measured as sub 20, though the official time is your official time, and back then I was a bit annoyed about that, but thankfully the next month on the 19th of December I ran my first ever sub 20. So in a year, effectively, I went from being 19 stone and not running, having the year before only been able to get down to around 30 minutes, to being under 20 minutes. So I probably have some natural talent, but at the same time, no doubt for me, low carb made a massive difference. I got my weight down. And by low carb, I was probably under 20 grams of carbs a day. I was pretty much eating meat, eggs, low carb veg like broccoli, cauliflower, that sort of thing, and making some low carb meals, lasagnas and things like beef mince, tomatoes, cheese and cream sauce and stuff like that. Obviously no pasta, no rice, no potatoes, no sweets, cakes, anything like that. And I still haven't had any of those things to this day. So it is certainly maintainable. And yeah, so then we move on to 2016. I haven't put it in here, but in 2016 I found my mojo and I got down to like 1914 at parkrun. And yeah, then I thought, I know, I will try a marathon. That was having completed a half marathon in 2016 in 90 minutes and 10 seconds. So in attempting to train for this marathon, my knee hurt, and I was probably trying for too much too soon. I've always been hyper competitive, and unfortunately, yeah, I got injured. And people will say, you're always going to get injured, but since the end of 2018 till now, so that's what, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, so you're talking good 5 years now, I've not had any injuries that have forced me to stop running. Whereas in my initial attempts at running in 2015, 16, 17, I had constant niggles, whether it be shin splints, knee pain, plantar fasciitis, something, anything, you name it, I had it. But this knee pain was to the point I couldn't run. So when I couldn't run, I put a bit of weight back on. This was probably me getting back up to somewhere like 14 stone. Certainly by the sort of end of the year, early 2018 I tried staying on my bike to keep up some fitness, but every time I tried to run, I could not get it to not be painful. Whatever I did, even I tried 1-2 mile run, and that was it. It was too painful for me to run on. So 2017 was the beginning of the end in terms of my knee, and so 2018 I didn't really start running properly till the end of the year. And I did go to physio, and they did give me some exercises. Did those exercises help? Arguably they probably helped a bit, but I didn't find that they made a huge difference. But in late 2018 I decided to try some barefoot shoes. You know, as you do as a runner, I read Born to Run, and I thought, oh, as an evolutionary biologist in my past, a lot of it made sense. So I tried them out for walking initially, and after a couple of months of walking, I tried some running, and there was no pain at all. It was, in my eyes, quite remarkable, even as someone who studied evolution and knows that we should arguably be barefoot a lot of the time. And you know, clearly it was changing my biomechanics, and that was actually the problem, was the way I was running was wrong, and that was causing me to be injured. So at that point I was doing all my running and all my walking in barefoot shoes. And as you can see here, by the end of 2018, much to my wife's disgust to some extent, I was back down to 21:35 off of a few months training, and that was in barefoot shoes. By a company called Freet at that point. As I say, I was still low carb. I've never not been low carb since I started it in the end of 2014, but I had gained a lot of weight. I had got some of this off, obviously, to be down sub 22, and I'll discuss some of that more in my 2019 slides. So I used intermittent fasting because for me, low carb wasn't cutting it quite so much. I think that's probably from introducing things like nuts and a bit more cream and that sort of thing, and also some of the low carb treats that you can get that have artificial sweeteners, and they should be treats, but they're a bit addictive, so you have a few too many of them. And I got my first pair of Vibram 5 fingers as well, and was running in those. And I also was doing most of my training using something called MAF. For those that don't know, it's sort of something that's being condoned a lot by phenylmethanol, but it's actually like your maximum aerobic function, and it just means, very basically, again, there'll be more detail on another video, training at a heart rate of roughly 180 minus your age, and staying at that nice easy pace. So quite often when I first started, got back into it, a lot of my training runs I was walking, certainly up hills, and it was a really slow pace. And even to this day, I do a lot of my training so much slower than most people I know. And some of that's some of the other principles of running with family and running with my dog and all that sort of thing. But I also find it works better for me. It keeps me injury free and my body likes it. So yeah, I use intermittent fasting to lose some weight. I stuck to stricter low carbs. I got rid of those cheaty type fake low carb things, and I was back under 21. And I was quite happy with being under 21, but I would have liked faster, and that was, say, in barefoot shoes. 2020 and 2021, well, as we all know, there were lockdowns, so parkrun was cancelled for a long time. But I believe it was Easter of 2021 that I adopted the carnivore diet for good. I dabbled with it before as a low carb thing and it hadn't stuck, but I'd made the decision, because again I'd gained weight, that I was going to stick to zero carb, and the weight started coming off, and my times from being out by myself started coming down. And when parkrun came back after lockdowns and stuff, I kept trying and kept training consistently again. And by the end of 2021, I'd got back under 20 minutes, actually for the first time since December 2016. So yeah, I was absolutely chuffed the day that came through, to get back under 20 minutes. And as I say, the biggest difference there was the carnivore, but I also found when I adopted carnivore, I wanted to do more strength training. So I was doing some dumbbell stuff. I was looking at the strength training in primal endurance of doing squats, press-ups, pull-ups. And I believe it was the December of 2021 was also the first time I ever in my life managed to do a pull-up. And it's now something I regularly incorporate into my training, although I still can't do a huge number of them, but I try and do at least 10 every day. So move on to 2022, and although that picture's actually from 2023, I found ultras. More specifically that year, I just got the Escalante races, and I found that, especially on the Eastbourne summer course, there's quite a rocky section, and when I'm running hard, I wanted a bit of cushioning under my feet, and it made a difference. Not only did I get in my first PB in the August of that year, since I think it was June or April of 2016, so in over 6 years, I got my first PB and actually ran my first ever sub-19. I also got, as you can see there, on the 10th of September, my first ever first finisher. It may have been one of the slowest first finishers at Eastbourne Parkrun, but I was there and I took it. And then the next week, still on the slower summer course at Eastbourne, I ran 18:49, which was another PB. And then, as you can see, by the end of the year in October, we were back on the quicker winter route, and I ran 18:17. Now, I didn't actually get anywhere near that again until February 2023, which I was moving to next. So this is when really more it came down to consistent training. So in 2023, I found my mojo, as I put there, and say in January of 2023, I set a 10k PB of sub 38, and then in February, I ran my first sub 18s with 2 in the 1750s. And then had a family loss in March, which derailed me a little bit. I stayed consistent with my training, I stayed consistent with my diet, but mentally I just wasn't in it, and I could not get back down under 18. In fact, I was struggling to get under sort of 18:30 most weeks. And then just recently, in the last couple of months, things have really clicked again. I think I've focused a lot more on mental improvements. Again, that will come up in other videos of what it is I do, what books I've been using, and how I've been working on that. And I've set now numerous PBs over the last couple of months, starting on the 11th, I was out at Hastings and I got 17:49, and then say obviously in the last week on the 23rd I ran 17:40, and then on Christmas Day I ran 17:39. And honestly, conditions were pretty poor on that Christmas Day run. It was pretty windy, so to have got a PB like that, I think I can go faster. And the picture of me in the Superman outfit was actually in the middle of the summer. It was boiling hot, and I'd said I was going to run my 250th park run dressed as Superman, and so I did. So there we go. That is a brief-ish summary of how I went from a 33-minute park runner to a 17-minute something park runner. So you've got diet, where I went low carb, and then carnivore, and also incorporating intermittent fasting. So I typically eat within an 8-hour window pretty much every day without fail. I have obviously upped my mileage and trained consistently. I mean, this year I've run over 2,700 miles, and last year I ran about 2,000 miles despite having to take a month off for reasons I won't go into here. And obviously I found barefoot shoes that put up the strength and gave me the correct sort of running gait to stop me from getting injured, and I can now use cushioned shoes, but I do stick to ultras, which are generally 0 drop and have a wide toe box, so they work for me. And see, I've incorporated strength training and mental training, and yeah, it just works for me. And I intend to break these things down more in future videos, and hope you enjoy the channel, and feel free to get in touch. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.